that I've been in the car business virtually all of my life after getting out of college. And I've given a lot of talks around to different schools and stuff, but never on ethics. And being in my profession, car dealers, I thought that was kind of interesting to say the least. I'm getting more seasoned, I'm not getting older, so I'm going to use this for a second. Does anyone know what Webster describes and defines ethics is? The definition of ethics? It's a discipline dealing with good and evil with moral duty. And in reading your case and going over part of the history, what they wanted me to talk about is kind of how we started family business and been going. We celebrated our 50th anniversary in Denver last year. So we're moving on to our 51st year. And I like to say that we came out by wagon back in 1961. My father bought a defunct Chevy store, a gentleman was going broke, in downtown Golden. But a couple of things that were interesting was that when he graduated from Notre Dame with an accounting degree in philosophy, he was also on the boxing team. And my grandfather started an auto electric trade school in downtown Kansas City in 1922 to teach blind folks how to be mechanics. And they would do it by feel. They would take automatic transmissions apart and be able to do it. And so as time went on, my father got his first opportunity at 25 years old. He was a part owner in a dealership in a place called Warrensburg, Missouri. It was a Cadillac Chevy store. Well, at the time, Denver was part of the Kansas City region, so they would have their dealer meetings in Colorado Springs back in the late 50s. And so the Kansas City zone manager knew that this deal was going to go south in Golden and said, Chuck, you need to buy this dealership. Well, at the same time, I'm number 5 or 6 out of 9 kids, 8 boys and a girl. And number 5, my brother, was diagnosed with starting to get bursitis and things in the leg, and we need to move to a drier climate. So once Mom heard that, it was pretty much like, we're going to get out of here. So we sold everything with $3,000 with 7 kids, and we came out to a little place in Golden, and that's kind of where we started. And over time, we kept going in the vision. Very like, if you haven't, you need to read the story of Mr. Daniels, because it's the same sort of philosophy at the time, that there's so much opportunity out there, and there still is today, and that's what makes business fun. That's what you're experiencing right now, the gift of a great man who thought long and hard enough to say, we need to teach ethics in the community and your own lives. And believe me, you will be tested from now to the rest of your lives on situations as your case study that I read each and every day. So one of the things that I found interesting in our business, because it's changed so dramatically, is let's go back 4 years and I'll kind of give you a brief synopsis of the last 5 years of my life. We're rolling along with Toyota and Lexus, and Toyota was perceived as top quality, was it not? Along with Honda and a few of the imports. Several years ago, this is back in the 80s, the big three, Chrysler, Ford, and General Motors, collectively were spending $1 million a day in R&D. Toyota was spending $1 million an hour. And a lot of the technology that you have in Prius today, there was 2 car companies that made a decision 15 years ago for a $2 billion investment. One went off and built Hummer, and that's no longer here. One built Prius, and we're on our 7th generation of Prius and technology. But in year 3 of that, they sold the first 2 phases of that technology to Ford for $1.2 billion. So you make a $2 billion investment, you're cranking out the cars, and then you turn around and sell some of the technology to a competitor to get them going, and you move on. So we were rolling along, and Toyota was doing well, and what happened? Unintended acceleration. Oh, by the way, it was a political year. So when you went after the #1 world car manufacturer, and you claimed all these sorts of things, it took 2 years for NASA to clear the fact that it wasn't unintended acceleration. But you had to go through the whole process. But look at the damage that was done to the reputation of one of the best producers of automobiles in the world. Oh, then we move, and once we start getting that back, we wake up one morning and there's a tsunami. The tsunami wipes out about 60% of the manufacturers for all kinds of things. Do you realize why the iPad was delayed launching in China? You know the little thing on your crackberries, as I call them, where you slide your finger across? The residue behind that is the connection. There was one manufacturer that produced it. It was in Japan and got underwater. So there was this whole province in part of Canada that out of the 100 manufacturers, 60 were gone. 20 were damaged so bad that they couldn't produce anything. The other 20 had no way of getting it out because Japan has two different power grids. They couldn't talk to each other. So, of course, as that country finally came out of its doldrums, they started to come back and start producing things again. And then, oh, wait a minute, there was the financial crisis in Wall Street. And who was the bad fellows during that process? All the businesses, all the banks. What they should have done was brought those guys down to the street and shot them. Of course, I know there's laws against that. But I don't remember anybody going to trial for all that stuff and say, hey, you know what? Because it's business is bad, business is bad. Business is not bad. Business makes the world go around. And you can go in and have a great time as long as you are ethical in your standards. And that's what you will be tested upon in your careers as you move forward throughout your lives in business. So then you get past that portion of it. And during that whole time, I've got 617 employees. We never laid anybody off. But you went from manufacturing about the numbers of cars that we were able to get for our 4 biggest franchises went down to 10%. So at times when you're a business owner, and I've said this to my people a lot, in particular my managers, sometimes you have to manufacture a truth that isn't there. And what do I mean by that? You've got to make people understand that, you know what, we're going to get through these tough times one way or the other. Anybody that comes to work for me, I can give you an 80% job description. The other 20% we're going to figure out along the way because you know what, tomorrow it's going to change. We'll wake up one day and there's going to be, today, or not right now, last week, there's a national shortage of rail cars for getting cars transported around the United States because the guys are in strike up in Canada. I don't control all that. I don't control all this. What I can control is my little slice of heaven in Golden, Colorado, and turn around and say, you know what, we're going to get through all of this. And you do. You figure out a way to make it happen. And that's what I mean. Sometimes you have to manufacture a truth that isn't there. Because people will follow leaders. Okay? And that's one of the things that I think what you'll find is, when you go through this whole process in the case study, is you'll emerge to make the tough decisions. I find that case was written very, very well. And I think it's very apropos that it's timed right now for all of the things that are yet to be decided. And so while you're polite to each other tonight, go home and when you go to bed tonight, remember, you're in competition. So you be nice to them tonight, but tomorrow, you know, come on. Don't feel free to dial it up. It's okay. But you got to do ethics about it. You got to be ethical. So I wouldn't suggest you go in and change their time clocks and stuff at the hour. So a couple of little points that I want to make sure is you're here because a very successful man had the foresight to want to invest in the future of young people. And you were at a golden moment in your life. So tomorrow when you're saddling up and you're getting ready to go into the competition, remember this moment because you were given a gift. You qualified to get the gift because of your competition through the schools that you are now. But what a rarity. What a rarity point right now that you have the opportunity to compete and you want to kill your competitors with kindness, but you still want to win. Okay? So just make the most of it because it really is a fun opportunity for you. Being ethical is not easy, but you got to remember, I mean, who do you ultimately answer to at the end? Just one person, yourself. And so through all this debacle with manufacturing and tsunami floods and Asian floods and rail cars, there's all kinds of things that sometimes, you know what, you could do this, you could shortcut this, you could do something else. It isn't that easy. If you believe in yourself and have the fiber inside yourself, so when you look at yourself in the mirror, I mean, I do it every morning. First of all, I'm glad to see me. And then turn around and say, you know what, at least the first 10 minutes of my life have gone fairly well because in the next couple hours, I don't know what's going to happen. And so flexibility is the key. Don't be so stringent that it's got to be, if you're going to be an A to Z player, you're going to have it tough. You probably wouldn't work for me. I'd probably hire you somebody in a few areas, but in our world, it changes all the time. I can't do anything about money sources if they dry up. I can't do anything about the good Lord and the tsunamis and all the weather because it's so interrelated. March, 5 Saturdays in March. We love Saturdays in the car business. We lost 2 to snow. March was a tough month for us. That's how things can change. So guess, as an owner, what do? Well, you didn't hit your March numbers, so you have to hit all of those plus April's. See? So it doesn't change. It just kind of keeps going. The other thing is you will be tested over and over throughout your life and your career about what do you stand for. Bet on it, you will. I mean, I can guarantee that's a better bet than the lottery. And so there will be those golden moments, as of now, that you're going to say to yourself, which way do I go? What do I do? And being yourself and true to yourself. And you have the inner fiber of saying, I'm an ethical person, I'm intelligent, I like who I am, I like what I stand for. Stand up and be counted. Because the peer pressure of everything else that goes on in your lives will continue to mount up, and it makes it very difficult for you, particularly at your age and the things that you're going. I can't believe I said your age, Scott, we're getting older. My father taught me some time ago, something that I've never forgotten. As a business owner, one of my responsibilities is to give people an opportunity. For those of you who are out from Utah, do you know the Larry Miller organization? You know the name? He was a parts manager for my dad. Here's a guy who worked as a parts manager, and then my father made him a general manager of our Toyota store. They thought my father was on drugs at the time. I don't think they knew what that was back then. And Larry moved back into Salt Lake and proceeded to start his empire. That became the Utah Jazz, 40-some dealerships, TV stations, good Lord, built a fabulous racetrack, and some other things. So you never know. And he was one of those out of the same cut as Mr. Daniels of opportunities everywhere. The definition of success, I think, is my father used to tell me, 90% of the people will do 90% of the work and stop. But the true successors are what? The people who finish the last 10%. Why is that? Well, the other 90% is telling you why you can't do it because they quit. So they're doing this. The last 10% of the task is the most difficult, to get it over the finish line. And that's where the test comes in. Do you want to be the 90 or do you want to be the 10? And I think that's what's pivotal. So, with me, it's a couple of things. I love what I do. It's almost sinful to get paid to do what I do. Now, it's not as fun as it used to be because of the regulations and other things. We were chatting about some of, quote, the old days. But you know what? I love it. Denver's a big town, but Denver's not that big. So when you deal with somebody, the word gets out pretty quick, whether you're pretty reputable or you're not. And being reputable is real easy. Stand by your convictions. Treat people the way you want to be treated. Don't take any heck from someone else. And just be true to yourself in the long run. Because the bottom line to that is that you're the one that answers to you. And you will have pressure from all angles of your life. And so right now you have the opportunity, and you are developing who you are. My son's at Creighton, and it's kind of fun. He's been working for me the last 4 summers. But one of the things that I did, that my father did to me, was I would make him come up wherever he has in one of the stores, and he's an IT wizard. I mean, I have a hard time. My VCR or whatever it is still flashes 12 at home. So Christmas break and summer and all that, he gets all my electronic stuff back where it should be. But one of the things my father did to me, and I do with Ben, is I made him come down to all of my general managers' meetings. And he sat through some of these and got to listen to some of these crises that were going on. And prior to 16, I had the good fortune of being able to take him back and forth to work. And even at 16, I would say, you know what, I'll pick you up, or you come with me this morning, or leave your car, or whatever. So we had windshield time, as I call it. And that was the best for me. And I get these calls periodically, and I've had 2 this week. And he goes, hey, you got a minute? And no matter what meeting I'm in, I step out and take his call. And it's cool to listen to him say, do you remember 2 years ago in a general manager meeting, you said this and this and this? I'm like, yeah, right, I can't remember this afternoon. And he goes, well, you went over this topic and this topic. We just covered it in class. And I'm thinking, well, That's amazing for him to remember, to be prudent to his life, saying this is real. Well, what you're going to go through the next day and a half, or today or tonight or tomorrow, is real. You're going to have to make some tough decisions and ethical decisions about what do you do. Because I read your case. I know how I do it. But I'm a real black and white guy. There's no middle margin with me. Don't lie, cheat, or steal from me, and you'll do okay. If there's a question of anything else, you're gone. I had my HR. I had to get an HR guy finally. At 400 people, I said, you really ought to think about counting. I said, no, I'm okay. He doesn't like to have an open door policy because it's quote not on page 12. But I said, you can write that manual. I'm not going to stick to it. But you do. We're very fortunate because our employees are really what makes Stevinson Stevinson. I'm just the face of a family business, but it's the people who are inside those stores. And as a business owner, the minute you forget that, they're going to go away. Because treating people with kindness is not that difficult. But again, you answered yourself, and they'll take the tempo that you have. So every time I go to a dealership, I park out back and walk through. Now they know the Eagles landed, straighten up. But I always go through the shop, go through parts departments before I ever go up to say hello to the folks that are there. Because they're there from ding to dawn, man. They're there at 6 a.m. And the sales folks, in the summertime may not roll out till 7:30 or 8 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night. So if I didn't have my day job, I love being in the stores, but the GMs don't like it. That's why I finally had to move out of them. So anyway, I just want to say the last thing I want to tell you is live the moment. Tomorrow will be fun. Make it fun. Yes, it's competitive. But when you leave here, realize and be thankful that there was a guy that thought about this prior to his death. And he wanted to leave a lasting impression. In fact, one of the quotes is up there. He wanted to make sure that he didn't know anyone ever thought he'd swindle him or felt bad after you shake hands with him. And I remember Bill. I had the good fortune of being around him a couple of times. A lot like Larry Miller, a lot like my father, a lot like that generation that they made it. And the nice thing is your opportunity is going to be there for you. And so you want to be the 90 or you want to be the 10? I chose the 10, even though I had a great foundation. But we had 4 dealerships when my father passed away. We have 7 in real estate holdings and stuff. And we do just shy of $1 billion worth of sales a year. And it takes a lot, but we have good people doing it. And that's where I'm really thankful for, is because they're the name of Stevinson, not really me. So that's it. So I don't know if you'd like to do a questions and answers. You're more than welcome to. You can insult me. I'm in the car business. Somebody's done it way ahead of you guys. So, but if you'd like to, whatever you'd like to do is up to you. Thank you. Any questions?
Kit, how do you counter your competitors who may succumb to advertising tactics or deals that are promoted in a certain way that get people in the door? And how do you counter that kind of approach, not wanting to go there yourself, but maybe losing the sales?
It doesn't interest me because if you look statistically nationally, when people are out shopping for cars, where do you think price falls in the top 10 list? The price of what I pay for a car. Where would you think it to be?
Number one?
Number 1, really. Anybody else? 7.
Wow.
What do you think the number 1 is?
How we trust it.
Treatment. Treatment and trust. We choose to go another way. We'll get through there. I mean, we're selling, second, third generation cars. When there was one family out in Golden, I bet we sold 52. And now, I'm getting more seasoned. Mom and Dad had kids. Now their kids are having kids and buying some cars. It's just what you choose to do. I mean, if some of you who are local, you'll see Gil and Doug. And I love Doug to grab his gold rings and Superman suit and all the rest. And but he's carved out a niche and done very, very well for himself. And I love Doug personally. He's a gas. But we just choose to brand ourselves differently. But really what it is when you walk in the door and the first time you put your paw out, you ought to be, whether you're a female or a male or whoever, whether it's in the service department or up front. Do we do it all the way? All of our stats show we're in the 96, 97 percentile. But when we blow it, oh boy, do we blow it. Oh yeah. But by the time it gets to me, it's kind of gray smoke, as I call it, because I'm only going to get about half the truth. And I think what stuns people is that if I get anybody I call them directly. It's easy enough to do because all I have to do is call a few of those folks, and that spreads the word that, he really is what he portrays on TV. I have a spot out right now that I have no heart. And everybody laughs about it, and I said, well, if I ever run for political office, that's the one I'm gonna use. So I have no alliance to anyone. But I think it comes down to what I was saying before is, you choose who you wanna be. And the folks that we have representing us are very good people. I mean, I've got a gentleman that works for me 25 years. I mean, if you look at the amount of people that are over 15 years, it's 68% of the company. And so, you know, I have a person in each store that handles, quote, my clients or friends. They don't even call me anymore. They go right back to Kurt at Total West and say, oh, you know, and he calls me up, well, hey, so-and-so bought this color car. So I can remember it. You know what I mean? So once you kind of get that, you're part of the family, and that's what we do. Yes?
Do you have any kind of ethics training for your employees?
We do. We go through a lot of training, and part of the difficulty right now with a lot of these kids and everybody coming out of college is they don't know what businesses stand for. They don't know the inner fiber of what that business is, and we cover that. Along with that, what's interesting about our business in general, even though we have 7 different locations through the Front Range, is the fact that when something happens where there's a problem with an employee, I make sure that I handle that situation very fast. I personally handle them, but I do so in such a way that I can be in Aurora. By the time I drive to Golden, the smoke signals have already gone out. I mean, to tell you what, they know that something happened at East and somebody had done this, and Kent's on his way. And I mean, it's so I don't have to deal with it, you know, through all 600. They know because they're doing something stupid. Doing things that are, if you miss something or if you do something because of oversight is one thing. If you do something that is mean and spiteful and with the intent, I don't need to hear all the details. My guy said, well, you might get sued. I said, great, fire him up. Get the attorneys, I don't care. I'm ready for the dance. On the second side is, we've been wrongly accused of a few things, and I spent $1 million in court to have it come out. And they said, well, you'll settle for this, you'll settle for that. I said, I don't settle. If we've done something incorrect, we make it up. If we've done something and one of my people have done something correct, I don't care what it costs. Because you don't get everybody lining up for you that wants to take a cheap shot or say, well, you know what, they'll manufacture something that you did this, and try to blame one of my people. This happened 2 weeks ago. There was a situation on the service drive. It happened to be out there. It was about 6:30. And this gentleman had come in, and he was just angry. I don't know what from. And we had not seen his car before. And we had a brand new assistant service advisor, a female, that was on the showroom floor. And she wanted a little more better hours because of her family. But gosh, she was just so good at meeting people. I mean, I can't teach that part. I can teach you the business, but I can't teach you to be caring and those sorts of things. And it was perfect. It happened to be there, and this guy was ripping her up and down. And so that's a very large facility. I have 12 service riders, and you know, you'll run 400 cars through there in a day. And so I waited till I couldn't stand anymore because I was trying to get the gist of what his name. He was just angry. So I waited for him to come out of that office right square in the middle of the service drive. Now we had customers there, we had our employees there, and this is at like, now it's pushing probably 7:10. And I walked up and I said, let me introduce myself to you. And before I could get out of that, he turned around and goes, who the hell are you? Forgive me. And I said, I'm the guy that's going to throw you out. And I said, by the way, here's my name. He goes, you are? And I said, yeah. I don't pay my people to take, there was a word I used, starts with an S, off with people like you. I don't pay them enough. I said, so you need to hop in your car and you need to leave. He goes, well, by law, you're supposed to honor the warranty. And I said, that's correct. I said, but that's okay. Here's the address of the next closest dealer. You ought to go see him, because I bet you're a real treasure. Oh my, you could have dropped a pin in that service department. She was trembling. A couple of my veteran riders were right? And he looked at me and I said, no, it's real simple, because if you don't leave, I'm going to call 911, and I don't know if you have something shiny in your hand or what. I don't know what that is. And they'll be here with a SWAT team, dude. Well, you going to tell them I have a gun? I said, that's not what I said. I said something shiny. Could be a little phone. I don't know. My eyesight's not as good as it used to be. Boy, he left. It wasn't, by the time I had my first meeting at 8, it had gone through. I get calls from 2 other dealers going, hey, you were lively this morning. I said, guess what? I gave them your address and your phone number. They're going to come see you. That's the 2 or 3% we ought not to sell a car to, because no matter what you do, they're going to just be abusive. And I don't pay my people to do that, to take it. I'm kind of finicky in that way. Don't go after my people. So, yes?
What's your opinion of the Better Business Bureau?
I think the Better Business Bureau does a good job. I think over the years what they've done is I think they've realized there's more to some of these businesses, and that people are kind of manufacturing being a victim, and I think they're doing a much better job of getting more of the information before they just suddenly go off and say, here's a complaint, or here's if you don't respond, we're going to post this. But they also know what they deal with us. We don't. I have someone that handles all of that, and by the time if she can't get it done, it comes to me. I got no problem going down or calling them up and say, look, here's the program. And part of that is the fact that if you screw it up, admit it and move on. You know, I mean, it costs you a few dollars over the process, but in the grand scheme of things, when you're selling hundreds and thousands of vehicles in a year's time, and you're millions of dollars worth of business, don't be foolish. But on the same token, you can't give it away. On a situation, we had a lady call, and her paint is, quote, coming apart on the car. She bought a used vehicle from us. When she bought it, even the notes say that how much she loved it. It was a perfect car and everything else. Excuse me, this is 17 months ago, and it wants me to repaint the truck. Well, of course, the truck's been sitting outside the whole time on the farm. And I can't control what happens. So I said, unfortunately, I'm not held responsible for that. It's not an environment I can control. And I don't think I'll get a Christmas card from her. But at the same token, we have done nothing wrong. You know what I mean? And I think the Better Business Bureau has done a good job getting more of the information and there are two sides. You know, historically, it was always the consumer that was the victim. One of these days, I'm going to be a victim. I don't know what it is going to be of. I hope it's nothing bad, but I'll manifest something that comes in. So, anything else? Yes.
What is the most common form of ethical misconduct that you encounter in your business?
We used to encounter people lying on both sides. But if you dig a little deeper, I think what happens is people in our business will misstate something because they don't know. And I keep telling all of them, I said, and we do a lot of role playing, and I handle these meetings. And I tell them, if you can fail in front of me, that's the worst that can happen to you today. Why? I got the power to fire you, right? So a consumer's not going to fire you. A consumer's not going to know that, you know what? Turn around and say, you know what? I'm not as up to date. If you came to me today right now and said, hey, Kent, what is the financing that's out there on the new Lexuses? I said, you know what? I can't keep up with it, but I'll get you somebody that can. It's okay to say, I don't know. As long as then the next time you're prepared. So we drill our people for knowledge. Not just our product. They need to understand what the environment is and the competition alike. But I would say that it's the fact that, you know what, people, I think in any industry, in just business in general, people get nervous if they don't know something, then they're going to put something out there that may not be a lie, but it may be some, you know, kind of filler instead of saying, time out, I don't know, let me go find out. And that's what we tell our people repeatedly over and over and over. You can't make a mistake if you do that. I mean, it isn't that difficult. But human nature, you don't want to look embarrassed, you don't want to feel uninformed, you don't want to look, and so you become sort of defensive posture of it instead of just spinning out and saying, hey, I don't know. So, anything else? Yes.
You've been in the biz a long time.
Thank you.
What's been the best part of it for you?
People. There's nothing like trying to satisfy someone's needs. I still get tingly in my cheeks when I know that someone says, I'm not sure. And I'll go through the value story of why. I always say to somebody, I said, what do you want your new car to do that your old car hasn't done for you? And they'll proceed to tell you, whether now I got 2.2 kids and a half a dog, and I don't have this, or I need kids with a United Freight permit because I got stuff, or whatever. Because my responsibility to you, as someone selling you a good, is I need to sell you this much more than you need. Because if I sell you this much less than you need, you'll never like the experience. But if you go in and try and do this, you're an idiot. So it's that point of satisfying the needs and the wants, and your desires, and everybody's got a budget. That's why price is 7th on the list. They want to know you take a genuine interest, because buying a car is like getting your wisdom teeth pulled. I get one today and one tomorrow, and then I'll wait the weekend and hurt, and they come back Monday. That's the old perception. It doesn't have to be that way. Particularly as much as technology gives, you can stand on my showroom floor and pull up whatever you want and say, well, this guy's going to beat you deal, whatever. I said, that's fine. I can't sell them all at loss. You know, I got to make a little profit for this and my people and the plant that you want servicing in. I think that's the key. I think what you do is you be up front and say, here's how it is. You know, Dad told me a long time ago, if you go to a banquet table and you have a small little sandwich, everybody feeds. If you go and gorge yourself, the table doesn't last very long. And I think that's what's gotten us for 51 years so far. So, and I haven't been around a long time. Thanks, God. Anything else? Well, do me a favor. Have fun, enjoy yourselves, and enjoy the moment, because it's I wish I could be around tomorrow to hear it, but hopefully you'll all have fun doing it. So thank you for putting up with me.
That was terrific. Ken actually changed his plans to go visit his son in Creighton, to leave in the morning so he could be with us tonight. So we really appreciate your time with us. And we gave him earlier a little gift from all of us that is the principles for the Daniels Ethics Fund Initiative in Lucite. So he can look at that and remember his time with us tonight. So thanks again, Ken, very much.